was listening to something and Andy Cohen, one of the most famous people in pop culture right now, has admitted he's been scammed. He is smart, he is savvy, he understands things, and he has been scammed and he's talked about it. So, how do we expect the elderly to understand and not get scammed when maybe they don't have all the wherewithal? They don't have all the knowledge. They don't have all you know, the savvy anymore to understand these very intricate and sophisticated scams.
Hi everyone, I'm Lexie Callies. Do you feel the squeeze of caring for an elderly loved one and school aged children? Then welcome to the Sandwich Stories. Let's dig in.
Hi everybody. It's Lexie Callies with Sandwich Stories. I hope you're having a really great week. My boys are home, so I'm super excited. They had a really great time away on their sailing trip for Boy Scouts, but I am definitely glad that they are home. The house was a little too quiet for my liking. But today I wanted to talk to y'all about phone scams when it comes to the elderly. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I was at my mother's facility the other day, and there's a lovely lady who still is able to use her phone. My mom is not, so she does not use her phone anymore. But this one woman is allowed to have her phone. She can still use her cell phone, and she was sitting there with one of the other ladies, and I walked by and they kind of had this weird look on their face and they're kind of hemming and hawing about what I could kind of see over her shoulder was a text message. And I was like, "Hey, what's going on? Do you have a question? Is there something that came up you're not sure about?" So she handed me her phone and I said, my mind it said scam. Like my red flag went up. I thought this seems very wordy, and but yet didn't really seem to mean anything also. And there were two other ladies up the front who worked at the facility. So I said, "Can I borrow your phone for a minute? I'm gonna double check something." So I took it up to them and I said, "This seems like a scam to me. This seems like she's gonna click through this and it's gonna take her someplace and who knows what's gonna happen." And they both looked at it and they were like, "Yeah, I think that's a scam." And it was just nothing we'd ever heard of. It just seemed very wordy. And like I said, it didn't have any substance with all of those words. And I did not want her to go through it later and see it and then click through. So we actually went through and said block, report, scam. And there was another one that had to do with oh, the ones I get all the time. It's all the political phone messages, texts that we all get now, which are very obnoxious and annoying, but they're always looking for money. And obviously, when you have someone living in a facility, hopefully her family has control of her finances and she would not be able to give money or donate money to someone just out of the blue and could end up sadly giving away her whole entire savings. You don't know. Um, so those were also on there. We deleted those from her phone, and they were going to bring it up with her family member who is in charge of all her finances. And it just made me start thinking that my mom, luckily, does not use her phone anymore. I know that if she got scammed, if she got texts, if she got phone calls from people saying that my son was in the hospital or something happened to me or whatever it was, she'd believe it. She wouldn't know. And I know there's so many other people who are in the same situation, right? I mean, there are very smart, capable people who are getting scammed. And it's so embarrassing, but it breaks my heart when these horrible, deplorable people who most of the time live on the other side of the world and do not care what they are doing are scamming the elderly. It makes me so angry. And the fact that there's not a way to stop it at the moment, just there's so many other things in our world that people are obsessed about and worry about, and they're not talking about this as much as, I mean, people bring it up on the news. This poor lady got scammed. We were able to somehow get some of her money back, but then she lost it. And it's just very embarrassing, and sometimes these people are in such a tight budget, but they don't know it sounds real. AI voices are so real now that it's hard to tell. Like, is this a real person? Is this your grandson? Is this your, you just don't know, right? So it made me start thinking about this because I looked up some information, and in the last 2 years, 75% of people ages 50 to 80 have experienced a scam attempt. 75%. That is a huge, huge population of people. And they are normally on the phone, through text, sometimes through call. And they said that the elderly are obviously much more targeted. Um but I wanted to know what the number, like what one of the number one things was when it came to scamming the elderly, and it's government scams, right? So it's people pretending to be the IRS and demanding money from these people. What people have to constantly remember is that the IRS will not call you. The sheriff department will not call you. They will mail things to you. They will knock on your door. They will find you in person, but they will not call you. They will not text you. This is not something that they do. And I think people forget that, and it just sounds so official, especially when it happens around tax time, which a lot, April was tax time. People might have done extensions. They're still working on their taxes. So it's still something that comes up. People, the elderly deal with the IRS and Social Security constantly. So they are being targeted. And then they believe that it has something to do with the IRS, that they missed a payment, they didn't turn something in properly, that Social Security wants X, Y, and Z, they overpaid you, which won't happen. There's just so many things that they come and attack the elderly with, and it just breaks my heart. Like I said, I think it's the worst thing anyone could ever do. And so it's just, they ask for people to go and get Bitcoin. What does an elderly person even know about Bitcoin? I mean, I barely know about Bitcoin. I'm invested in it, but I barely know anything about it. So the elderly definitely are not going to be into Bitcoin and really understand what that means. The government and in any form of government does not need nor want payments with gift cards. But these scammers say if you go and get gift cards and then you drop it off or mail it to this or whatever it is, that it, they're just awful. These people are awful. And I know that there has to be some things done. Now, for my mom, she doesn't have a phone. I've already said that. There are a few other ladies in her facility that have phones, right? So the woman that I saw yesterday, she had her phone. There are other people who have their phone. I think this is the time when we need to go through your loved one's phone, right? Go through it, see what's been text to them, see numbers, maybe call numbers back that you don't recognize, that are not in their contacts, and make sure that you really know what's going on. And if they possibly did click through something and you have access to their accounts, instantly go into their bank accounts, double check everything, freeze it for a while you investigate. Do not allow these fraudsters to come after your loved ones and their money, because they do not care. And once it's gone, it's possibly always gone and you will not get it back. Now, I know the FBI is part of this. They do investigations with this, but there's only so much they can do. And so we have to be the ones who are on top of it. I mean, we all know about the warrant car warranty scam. We've all joked about it. We've all had it. When my mom lived at our last facility, there was an elderly lady who could not hear. She yelled all the time. She never wore her hearing aids, but she had her phone. And she had an old style flip phone, so it would be the people calling her. And there was one time I was there and she's saying, "What? What? I don't what? You want what?" And I said, "Oh, hey, Miss Betty, can I help you?" because none of the caretakers were listening. They kind of tune her out because she yells all the time. And so I said, "Hey, Miss Betty, can I help you out?" And she's like, "Yeah, there's someone on my phone, but I don't." And so I take the phone. I said, "Hi, can I help you?" And then I realized instantly when they started talking to me that it was a car warranty scammer. And I said, "I'm sorry, but you are not to call this phone number ever again. This is an elderly lady. Drop this number, leave her alone." And the person on the other end had the gall to tell me that I didn't need to be so rude. I'm going to be rude when it comes to caring for the elderly. I'm going to be rude when it comes to protecting the elderly because they need it. They need it just as much as children, and sometimes even more because children aren't walking around with a cell phone the way some of these elderly people are. And some of them can, you know, uh, when you're not in a facility, yet again, you still have to be careful, right? You still have to be careful. Like I've said, I mean, I was listening to something and Andy Cohen, one of the most famous people in pop culture right now, has admitted he's been scammed. He is smart, he is savvy, he understands things, and he has been scammed and he's talked about it. So, how do we expect the elderly to understand and not get scammed when maybe they don't have all the wherewithal, they don't have all the knowledge, they don't have all the, you know, the savvy anymore to understand these very intricate and sophisticated scams. So even if your parents are not living in a facility, but you're visiting them, or they have family members who visit them, or a neighbor who comes over regularly, maybe it's time to have a talk about checking your parents' phone, making sure that everything is on the up and up, that there's not weird phone numbers going back and forth, numbers you don't know. And if you don't know the number or it's not in their contacts, call it. Find out what's on the other end. Who are they calling, especially if it shows up multiple times. And then when it comes to text message, just like I mean, I do this on my phone all the time. I always do the report, scam, and block. So I block it, I report the scam, and I delete it, and it's gone. And I feel like sometimes you get the things and they say, just say stop, text stop. And no, I'm not doing that. I'm not giving whatever on the other end the fact that there's a live person texting stop on my end. I'm not doing that. I'm going to report it, I'm going to block it, and I'm going to delete the text altogether. And I think we need to go through our loved ones' phones to make sure that they are doing that too. And then if they don't have one that texts, which is fine, just like I said, double check phone numbers, look at their call logs, look at their list. Is there yet again, is there a phone number that you don't recognize it's not in their contacts and it's coming up over and over and over again, or they're calling it, then maybe we need to block and delete that number also because if you don't know what's on the other end, or if you call it and no one answers and there's not a reasonable reason why no one's answering, then maybe we need to block that number also. Because it's scary. These are the things that people should be ashamed of when they do this, but they're not. They don't care. I've listened to people who have investigated this before, and it's not until something happens to that person personally that they find out who was on the other end that they have even cared what they've been doing or who they've been affecting. To them, it's just somebody on the other end of the world, right? On the other end of the line, on the other side of the world, oh, it's these, maybe it's people who think, oh, they're just rich Americans. They can afford to lose them. Like, our elderly people cannot afford to lose their money. They worked hard for it. They deserve to keep it and they deserve to spend it how they want, but not to people who are scamming them. So get out there, double check your phones, double check your loved ones' phones. And heck, you know what? The way things are going right now, If you've got kids, check their phones. Maybe people are texting them and you don't want them, you don't want weird things to happen to them too, right? You don't want them to give information away that doesn't need to be given away. So that is my tip and my I'll get off my soapbox today of about the elderly and phones and scamming. So remember, 75% of people in the last 2 years of ages 50 to between 50 and 80 have been attempted to be scammed. 30%, 30% of those people have experienced actual fraud. That's still a lot of numbers. That's insane. That's a crazy 30% have actually experienced the fraud out of the ages of 50 to 80. So think of that. I mean, 50, that's my husband. He's gonna be 50 in a couple months. So it's not too far from us either. So think about it, double check everything, make sure your loved ones are safe, and make sure you're safe too. Okay. All right. Song of the week is going to be Good Time by Carly Rae Jepsen and Owl City. And it's really a song about you woke up on the right side of the day, right side of the bed, everything seemed great, and then other things were going wrong. You stepped in the mud, you dropped your phone in the pool, all these kinds of things. But in the middle of that you can still remember to have a good day and how to turn it around. Bad things happen during the day, but in a whole, is the day still a good day? This is what we try to tell our son every day. This is why we play Rose and Thorn almost every night. What was your rose of the day? What was the thorn of the day? And sometimes I can't come up with a thorn. My day's been so good. And sometimes I have to really think about what my rose was. And when I really do think about it, I'm like, oh, that was way better than what I thought my thorn was. And my day was not as bad as it was. So think about that. Good time. Carly Rae Jepsen with Owl City. I hope you all have a really great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Sandwich Stories. I really hope you learned some new things and enjoyed it. If you did, tell a friend, tell your mom, tell your sister, tell your dad, tell everybody you know to also listen. Maybe they'll learn some new things, how to help each other out, and find us at Sandwich Stories Podcast. Thanks so much.